Good afternoon. Welcome to OptionsTender. It's Wednesday, November 27th, 2024. Reminder that this week is a short week. We do not have a trading day tomorrow. And then Friday is going to be a short trading period. I believe the bell closes at 1 p.m. So we're getting kind of a move here today. I wasn't sure how that would go, what would happen, but we're just going to kind of do a little maintenance and check up on everything and see where this might end up. So, but first, I did want to show you and remind you about the 10-year yield. So we'll go through all that: SPY, QQQ, SMH, IWM, and the VIX, mostly on the daily time frame, so we can get a different point of view. Since we've been kind of focusing on the 65-minute, but we'll go on the daily this time around. All right, so we're doing this video intraday about 12:20 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you're interested in getting these videos, consider becoming a YouTube supporter. You get all kinds of things with any of the memberships you join up with. You get the Discord, you get the trade alerts, you get all sorts. It's such great value. So jump on in. Here we go. We have TNX. It's the 10-year yield. We have the bearish rising wedge broke down, back tested, and it's starting to fall. If this starts to accelerate, now it could, we could simply get bounces. It doesn't have to go straight down. Both scenarios do happen. So be ready for anything. If this starts to accelerate, that's gonna signify to the stock market that a recession is in the horizon. Okay, so very important to keep an eye on this. Maybe set yourself some alerts or so, just so you don't have to literally watch the charts. It's painstakingly slow, but any large move in bonds and rates simply affect the market tremendously. So now that rates are falling, you see the big tech stocks are falling as well. And I think that's going to be the theme. These continue to fall, and we'll see big tech lead to the downside. And the SMH and NVDA are leading the way already. So the big question for me is, are we going to get a bounce today? And we're going to go through that. And I put some hedges on just in case, because we're testing some really crucial levels on the Qs, but it also leaves open the door for the bulls to kind of take over. So I believe we're in an equilibrium. I believe we're at a real big juncture here. So still super bearish, looking to the downside, but just want to protect my swings just in case there's another bounce and time is just wasted on the bounces and setups. Okay, so let's go to SPY. Let's go SPY monthly. Okay, on the monthly chart, we have 2008 top, 2021 top, and we're forming top here. We'll see where that month ends. Is it going to be a devastating move? Well, we have today and the short trading day on Friday to determine that. And I don't really see too much more happening. If it does and gaps down, something goes on, we'll revisit this. But as of right now, we're just testing these major trend lines, and we'll see where we go from there. We might end up with something like this, where the month ends here, and then next month continue a reversal. So on the weekly time frame, we're not going to look at any indicators because we know that they're all pointing negative divergence on all of them. So we have, again, testing major trend lines to the upside. Still, we're getting pinched between major trend lines, and the 8 EMA is still considered the momentum indicator. So getting pinched between here, something's going to happen really soon here. Either we get above and hold above these trend lines, or we start to break down. You can't pause here forever. On the daily, and then we'll go around the horn here. On the daily time frame, we have the bearish rising wedge, and then we formed another wedge within it, and that's what's happening right now. We have the top of this trend line here, and we reversed off of it so far. Nothing's changed with the target areas that we have. It's just that we have to keep in consideration if the market wants to continue to move higher. And I'll give you another target to the upside from this correction. Every time you get a correction, you get new targets if you make new highs here. So we have to respect those, and I'll give you those little targets there. But I mean, it's 2 points away or so from, not from where we are now, but from the all-time high there. What else do we want to show here? Not a whole lot here. So we're fighting again with major resistance here at the 599, and we're holding it, as resistance here. Price has to get on top of the 599 and hold above it to continue on to more targets. Okay, so we have the time relationships right here, and we're in them. We have this time cluster right now. So is this the top? Yesterday, today, possibly. I mean, that's a good one. So we'll see what happens. If price wants to bounce a little bit, play around and get a bunch of dojis until next week and then release, that's always a possibility too. So the market loves to theta decay your options and get you worried that the price is going to go higher for bulls and for bears. So nobody's really a winner. Well, we have some good movement here for the bears today, but I'll remove these later. Let's go to the Qs. Oh, by the way, Ed, if we do start to accelerate coming up in the next couple of weeks here, then we have some targets. Just a reminder, these retracements here are from the bottom of this move, this whole structure here. And so this will be very telling on what kind of price action we expect, new highs or just a bounce and going lower. So you have the 382, very shallow. That would be where the breakout happened. Start breaking that in the 50 and getting right back above it. That's still, considered a little bit bullish. If we have a sharp move all the way down to the 544, I'm considering that an impulse move, and then we'll get a bounce into some time relationships and resistance, and we'll go from there. So we don't have enough information right now. We need to see a reversal. Now the Qs are showing signs of a reversal here, but we're at the 20 moving average, and we're at this major trend line here. So that's why we put on a little bit of call protection, just in case there's a little bit of a bounce. And so far, price is holding. Looked like it wanted to go through, but I think that's pretty typical. And get everybody all worried. And then now we can see, will we get that little bit of a bounce going into Friday and then fall into the next week? Or do we just gap down and continue to go? That's the big question, but we just want to make sure we protect our swings from any bounce there. And I'll show you exactly some other things, some other reasons besides the 20 moving average and this trend line, why we're cautious at best there. So SMH is really bearish, falling out of the wedge, back testing and starting to accelerate to the downside. So I don't know if we're breaking this level too. I don't know if we're going to get a doji today. Maybe we come back above the 200. That would tell me that there's some sort of bounce that's going to continue to move a little bit higher if we regain this 200. But we're very negative being under it. And so at this point, our next target really is a little bit lower to the 226. There's some support there as well. So 227 zone, if it wants to. IWM is really starting to peak here. And the big question is, are we going to get one more high? And we talked about that in the last video. When you give the measurement here from the correction, this correction here, you had movement and a break above it. So now we have new targets, and we already hit most of them all the way up to the minor 150% retracement. And then the next move would be the 248. So that is the big question. If this wants to continue to be bullish, I mean, that would get back above this trend line. That's fine. There's very volatile indice here, but it's also likely that we got a reversal already, and we're just continuing with the rotation. So if we get a bounce in the Qs, and kind of the theme is rotate out of the Qs and into small caps and the Dow, and then reverse that. So it's keeping the market elevated here and moving a little bit higher. So does that continue? It's not going to continue forever. Maybe it's just for the rest of this week, and we'll check out, see what happens next week. But just really, it's imminent. We're looking for the reversal. One of them is going to give out, and eventually they're going to set up together, and they're all going to move in tandem. DIA formed a channel, and right at the top of the channel, this is a great channel here. So clearly we're going to retest it, but it just depends. We want to get a couple more candles here that wick and just eke out new highs and reverse, ride up this trend line. That's possible, but eventually that's just going to give out. Okay, so we're looking for a reversal here. Nice reversal candle as well. And so what could be happening now is DIA and IWM, maybe they're getting the reversals and they're done, and now we have to wait for tech to kind of set up its bounce, and we'll do that on the lower time frame. We'll check that out. And so I found a trend line here from these lows back in May and then July, and line them all up with our previous low here. And so that's why I think we're getting a reversal at this point, because I couldn't see really anything there. I know that there's a little bit of support from these resistance here, these here, support there. So this is a good zone. I can put draw out a line here. Let's duplicate this. And so we have pretty good support here as well. Here, and here. So there and there. So we have good support, and then we have this rising trend line as well. So maybe this move is done, but perhaps we just get a micro dip here to make a higher low, and then move on from there. So it's just getting really, really close. I keep saying that over and over, but this not going to last forever, and it's going to be fast. People aren't going to know what to do when it starts moving, and they're going to want to buy the dip and things like that. So on the 65-minute, barely even, barely getting a move to the downside. It's just a micro dip. But if this is an impulsive wave, then maybe we see just a little bit of a bounce and heading lower. Now, if things decide to go a little bit higher, we have to respect that we have the 604 above us here, and maybe 1129 is our high. I don't know. We'll see what kind of time relationship we have when we get into those. But the daily has a really good one today, so we'll see if the high is in. We have the negative divergence from these points as well. And then if price gets above 599, I'll say that over and over. That's very important. It's got to not fake break like this. It's got to get above it, hold, and continue. But we have this kind of structure here that really didn't give any opportunity for a rest for this move. So this dip here really could just be working on this structure right here. So you have the dip. Now we can get a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 setup. All right, so there's kind of a bullish play with this, and now that would have to coincide with tech or whoever else wants to hold the market up. So going to tech, I know we're moving really quickly here. So we have our bearish rising wedge, and we're testing that today. Got below it and just a wick through it. So there's a couple different ways you can look at it. From a traditional sense, you just get above these highs here, and even this high right here would be good enough. So you break above, and then you have this triangulation, this equilibrium, and we'll probably see new highs if it gets above here. If not, we still have this opportunity to break down. So maybe with just a little bit of a bounce. And so that would present us with, I was giving in the Discord the setup for the bulls. If this wanted to be bullish, this would be a 1, 2, and then moving up for 3, 4, 5 there. I'm not in that camp, but we have to be aware. So after this is how I'm looking at it. So this is 1, 2, 1, 2, and now you have the situation where either this is an ABC and we go higher, or this is another 1, 2, and if we get a bounce, 1, 2. Okay, and so really kind of nesting here and getting tight in price action, and then maybe into Monday or Tuesday we'll start getting our drop there. But I just don't think today is it. I don't think this week is gonna be it personally. It looks like we're getting our bounce now. And then this is the other reason why we have NVDA. Here we go. So we have our trend line with NVDA. We got to it today with and we're holding it so far. So with this getting a bounce, and you could probably see the market go a little bit higher. And the SPY could already have a top in if IWM and DIA are soft or weak. So it's just the rotation trade. So if this starts to lift and SMH starts to lift and those other ones are negative, then SPY just kind of twiddles its thumbs back and forth in that small range while the Qs bounce a little bit. But if all three indices end up being a little bit stronger with this bounce, then SPY could see those highs at 604. All right, while the Qs get their bounce in. I don't know if that makes sense. All these, that's how we have to look at everything. Now, do I think this move is done? I still think we're doing an impulsive move here. So whether this is going to be a 1, 2, 1, 2 is whatever, but I have to look at this as this possibly could be a 1, 2, 3, and then get some sort of little bounce in here for wave 4, and then 5 continuing lower. And likely at that point, because you're breaking major trends, expanding. Okay, so 1, 2, or 3 is longest now, but 5, with 3 being the longest, 5 can be anything. So it can go, it can be short, it could be long. We don't know, but it looks like the moves are starting to expand, and I think this is a 5-wave move here. And so I think this move is pretty much done. And we get a bounce and head lower. SMH. Again, this is just showing a lot of weakness, and it looks like this also has some positive divergence, so I think we'll be looking for a bounce in this as well, and it just could backtest a little bit higher. Okay, so we've been looking at this. Let me clear this up. So we've been looking at this. It's pretty much being one move here, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And so this could head all the way back up here, maybe to that 50% area that would backtest that trend line once again. So you could see a nice move here, or this structure here, and then you're starting to extend from this point where you get a 1, 2, and then this just bounces, gets a lower high, and continues lower. That would be typical of SMH as well, just being very weak. IWM. Now with IWM, we have to look at this as if it's going to go a little bit higher. It appears to me that we have a structure here, a 1, 2, and it looks like this is a wave 3. Could be done with if you count this out in a certain way, but it looks like this is a 3-wave move, and this is going to be a little bit stronger. So my guess is that we have a chance to go up to 604 in SPY if this wants to be strong and the Qs want to bounce. And it just appears to me that today the market makers really kind of pushed the Qs, pushed those megatech stocks down, and now those are reset to at least bounce. All right. It couldn't do a whole bunch of damage on the entire market because IWM and DIA were up and, whatever else. And then, so at this point, if we get new highs in IWM, DIA, and the Qs are bouncing, I still think it's a possibility that SPY could go up to 604. So that's why I was, putting on a little bit of a hedge there. And just, to revisit Qs one more time, we get above here. This still looks like a 3-wave move. So you just want to be careful that if something ends up being really strong and, NVIDIA bounces hard, then this is going to come up with it. All right. Not much else to show, just on the 65. So I think we're getting our higher low here because of that trend line. And right here, we don't really have any structure yet. So maybe we start to form some higher highs and higher lows and then heading off to the races. So that's what we're looking at. I'll probably do another video whenever I can, tonight or tomorrow, just to show a little bit more in depth, maybe the tech market or such. We'll see. So thanks for joining us here. Have a wonderful Thanksgiving, and we'll talk to you soon.